Here is a list of some of the best glitches and exploits in Fallout 4 that still work after the next gen update. And in this video, I will go through 13 of them in detail. And with that, let's take a look at the first glitch. Hi, I'm Mo, and I'm trapped in Fallout. Scrapping the special book exploit and setting your special points above the 10 threshold. So in this glitch, what we will do is convert the special book into an object so that we can actually scrap it. And when we scrap it and rebuild it, we will be able to take special points multiple times. I will also show you how you can use this trick to exceed the 10 special points threshold. So typically, when you look at your special, you can only really set them to a maximum of 10. And anything above 10 is usually set by any buffs, such as food or any clothing item. However, you can use this glitch to permanently set these values to a much higher value than 10. So to do this, we will need to do a few things. First of all, make sure as best as you can that you don't have anything in your inventory other than one thing, a single weapon. Now this weapon can be any weapon. It doesn't have to be this pistol, could be anything, could be a melee weapon. And what you also want to do is make sure you can apply any modification to this weapon. Doesn't have to be specific, any modification will do. Now, if you do happen to have any inventory items in your game, for example, you have some quest items, you can still get around this. It doesn't have to be a totally empty inventory. It's just that the glitch is easier to do with an empty inventory, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So with that, go ahead and grab this special book. Now, if you're grabbing the book for the first time, you will be able to increase any one of your specials by 1 point by selecting this book. So we're going to go ahead and select the strength option. Now, if we look at our special, we will see that everything is set to 4 with the exception of strength, which is set to 5. This was previously set to 4, it is now 5 because we increased it by 1 point. So now with that done, let's go ahead and go to a weapons workbench to carry on with the glitch. So now that we are at a weapons workbench, go ahead and select the craft option and go ahead and rename your gun to something else. Now, before we do that, this is where we can talk about that inventory issue. So ideally, you won't have anything in your inventory, but if you do, you can still get around it. What you want to do is find out the name of your book. So in this case, this book is called Your Special, and I happen to be playing in English. If you happen to be playing in any other language, then the name of your book will be slightly different. What you want to do is just take the first letter of your book. So in my case, it is Y. Now, go into your weapons workbench and rename this to be the same letter as that. And make sure that it is a lowercase letter also. With that done, go ahead and exit. Now what you want to do is go ahead and do a quick save. The reason we're going to do a quick save is because this next part is a bit tricky. What you want to do is go back into the workbench, and here you want to press the scrap and modify button at exactly the same time, or as best you can. So this is where you need to press both buttons at the same time and then let go of them at the same time. Now, if you do it right, you will see this screen. You will see the scrap option as well as underneath it, the modify option for the weapon. What you want to do now is select the scrap option. And when you do that, you should see this screen. You should see the special book. Now, if you see any other item, for example, you may be using a quest item, i.e. you might have some quest items in your inventory, what you want to do is go back and reload that quick save and try again with a different letter. So you might want to try other letters until you get to this point. When you do get to this point, what you now want to do is press the right button on your D-pad. And if you do that, you will now be able to apply a modification. So if you recall, I said you want to be able to apply any modification, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to go ahead and select this. And with that, you will now see this screen where your mods have basically disappeared. Now go ahead and simply exit the entire process. With that done, if you now go ahead and look at your special book and go ahead and drop it. Previously, this book didn't actually have the option to scrap it. So if you now go ahead into settlement mode and look at the book, if you notice at the bottom, you can now scrap this book. Previously, you could not scrap the special book. So the steps we just did is what's called the converting the book into a scrappable object. Now, once you've done that, what you now want to do is do this button combination. You want to press the scrap button followed by the B button. So previously we pressed both the modify and the scrap button at exactly the same time. Here, what you want to do is instead press the scrap button followed by the store button. So not exactly the same time, one after the other. Again, you want to press the scrap button followed by the store button. When you press the scrap button, let go of it. And when you press the store button, hold it down. And if you do it right, it should look a little bit like this. Now, if you do it right, this is what you will see. Now, right now, I pressed the scrap button and then I pressed the store button. I am currently holding down the store button and I'm not holding down the scrap button. When you get to this screen, what you want to do is press the A button to scrap it and then press the A button again to store it. So what's happened in the background is I've actually scrapped the book and stored it at the same time. Now, if I go into my workshop and look for that book and pick it up, and then I go ahead and throw it on the floor, if I now pick it up, it now re-prompts me to select another special. So I'm going to go ahead and select the strength option. And now if I look at my special stats, it has gone up by 1. So you can repeat this process as many times as you want to get all of your special points up as many times as you want. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one more time. So I've dropped the book. I'm going to go into settlement mode. I'm going to go ahead and scrap it. So that didn't work. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and scrap it and store it. I'm going to go ahead into the workshop, pick up the book again, throw it on the floor, pick it up, and go ahead and select strength again, and then go in and confirm that my strength has gone up. So you can do this as many times as you want to basically take all your points up to 10. Now, there is a bit of a glitch here, or rather by design. You can only take any one of these points up to a maximum of 10. You cannot take it any higher. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take my strength all the way up to 10, and then I'll show you how you can increase this beyond the 10 mark. Now, if we have a look, I have now basically used the scrappable special books glitch to take my strength all the way up to 10. So now, if I go ahead and select that book again and throw it on the floor and pick it up, I don't have the ability to select strength again. And that is because my strength has been set to its maximum current value. It cannot be sent any higher than 10. But what we will do is actually show you how you can go above that number. So just to close this screen, I'm just going to go ahead and put a point into perception. It really doesn't matter. So now my perception has just gone up by 5. What we're going to do is go ahead and drop the book one more time. And I'm going to go ahead and scrap it just so that I can put it back into my workstation. So it is now in my workshop. I won't take it out, I'll leave it there. So now what we're going to do is show you or go through a number of methods where I can use this glitch to exceed or go beyond the threshold of 10. So to do that, the first thing I need to do is actually go ahead and build myself a bench. So let's just go ahead and do that. And now what I'm going to do is change my game settings and set myself to survival difficulty. Now with the game on survival, so let's just check that's actually been set. What I'm going to do is go ahead and basically wait. And what you want to do is wait for about 5 in-game days. So while that's happening, let me explain why I'm doing this. In survival mode, if you go for any duration of time without eating or drinking or sleeping, then you will start to incur penalty points. And what this really means is you get hungry, you get thirsty, you get tired, and so on. What this also means is you end up taking a hit on your special points. So your special points actually start to go down. Now, after doing this for a day, I don't think this will have a significant impact. Let's have a look. So none of our special points have really been affected. So I'm going to go ahead and wait one more day. So again, just to explain, the reason I'm doing this is to show you how your special points can actually go into a negative number because you've spent too much time going through the Commonwealth without eating or drinking anything. So once this is over, hopefully after 2 days worth of waiting, I should have some negative numbers. Now, ideally, what you want to do is actually wait for up to 5 or even 6 days, as this will have the most maximum impact. I'm just going to do this just after 2 days if possible. There you go. So I am now currently tired, fatigued, dehydrated, and so on. And as a result, all of these numbers, with the exception of agility, has gone down. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and access the special book again. Again, I'm going to drop it on the floor and pick it up. And now notice I'm able to select strength again. And the reason I'm able to select strength again is because my special point has gone below 10. So now if I go back, it has now been set to 10. And if I repeat this process, then I won't be able to select strength anymore because my current special is set to strength. However, if I did it for perception, to take perception all the way up to 10, I would be able to do it up to 8 times. So this is how you could set the points on any special below 10 and then set it back to 10. Now, just to round it off, I'm going to go into my settings and I'm going to change survival back to any other difficulty. And when you do that, it basically replenishes all your health, all your relevant stats, and you also remove any negative states. Now, if we go back into special, notice my strength is now 11, beyond the 10 mark. So by going to survival mode and incurring as many damage as you can, and this also works with any food you have as well. So if you take any food or any drugs or chems rather that have a negative effect on your stat, this will basically pull down your special stats as much as possible. And then all you have to do is reuse the scrappable special book as many times as you're able to set these points above or up to 10 with the negative stats applied. Then all you simply do is change your game settings back to any lower difficulty, and when you reset the game, or rather go back into any difficulty other than survival, all your special stats will be all above 10. I have got to a point where my special stats are very close to 20 for each of them. And with that said, now let's take a look at the next glitch or exploit, the resource duplication glitch. This glitch can be used to practically duplicate any resource you have in the game. So typically resources are used to build settlements such as walls, floors, objects, and so on. And what we can do is take any of those resources and duplicate them. So what you want to do is go into your workshop and go ahead and just select any resource. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select all the copper. So notice that I have 1013 copper, which is a significant amount. The question is, how did I get that many? So go ahead and take all the copper. And what we're going to do is drop the copper on the floor. And when you do that, this could sometimes happen where you have multiple stacks. Just go ahead and pick them up and drop them again. And they should drop as one stack. What you want to do to duplicate this resource is go into settlement mode, highlight the resource, and what you want to do is press the scrap button followed by the store button. So you don't want to press both buttons at the same time. You want to press both buttons one after the other. So you press the store button and then you press the scrap button. And when you press the scrap button, hold down the scrap button. So you want to press the store button and then the scrap button. And what you want to do is let go of the store button and hold down the scrap button. Now it's easier if you sort of slide your finger across the two buttons if you're able to, but if you do it right, you should see something like this. So here we can see the scrap button and the store button menu both visible at the same time. So right now I am holding down the store button, even though the scrap menu is currently visible. So with that, go ahead and scrap the copper and then go ahead and store the copper. And if you did this right, what would now happen is if you go back into your workshop and look at the copper, it will have basically doubled. And this is how you use the resource duplication glitch. So you can do this with any resource you want. Basically, anything that appears under this menu here, the junk menu in your workshop. So again, just for one more time, I'm going to go ahead and drop the copper. I'm going to go ahead and pick up both stacks. And then I'm going to drop it again. And then I'm going to go into settlement mode. I'm going to go ahead and press the store button followed by the scrap button, but I'm going to hold down the scrap button. And when I get this menu where the scrap menu is visible above the store menu, I'm going to go ahead and scrap it and store it. And then I'm going to go ahead back into my workshop and observe that I now have basically double the amount of copper that I had just a moment ago. And with that said, now let's take a look at the next glitch or exploit, the infinite XP glitch and infinite caps glitch. These two glitches are similar to each other in the sense that we can use this to get an infinite amount of XP and an infinite amount of caps. So let's focus on the infinite amount of XP first. To do this, you will need to first make your way to Sorga's Ironworks. It is directly northwest of the Museum of Witchcraft and directly south of the Slog. Once you make it here, what you want to do is just go ahead and go inside. Once inside, what you want to do is just follow this route. So go to the right and then just go straight all the way up the stairs and then across the stairs to the left. Now, while I'm doing that, let me explain why we're here. We're here because we want to pick up a special book that will give us access, or rather, it will unlock the ability to build statues, which is important to getting infinite caps, or rather infinite XP. So once you make it here, just jump across and then go all the way up. Now again, another thing to mention is this is a pretty high level area in the game. You will encounter some pretty high level enemies, so this might be better off being done at a later stage. But that said, it is possible to do this at an early level. It just might take you a few tries. So once you make it here, go into this door, and once inside, what you want to do is work your way to the platform over there. So from here, just go to your right, up the stairs, go to the left, and on the floor here should be a book for picket fences. And what this will do is allow you to build statues in your settlement. When you're back at a settlement, what you want to do is go ahead into settlement mode. And from here, go into decorations. And from here, you will now have this option here, statues. And what you want to do is just go ahead and build one of these statues. So if I just build one, notice that I got some amount of XP. Now, all you can do is basically this. Just go ahead and just build them endlessly. Now, if you have perks such as It is Savant, what this will do is give you even more, significantly more XP rather, when you build this. What you can do is just sort of endlessly build these statues as many times as you want to get as much XP as you want. Now, you might have noticed that I have a lot of copper, and this was basically from the glitch previous, where I basically had some copper and just used the resource duplication glitch on it to get as much copper as I want. So, by combining the resource duplication glitch and this glitch, you can get effectively an endless amount of XP very easily. Now, when you do have all of these statues, what you basically want to do after that is go ahead and just scrap them. So if you just go ahead and scrap them, what this will do is give you back some more room to build in your settlement. And this is really the only way to get rid of them if you don't really want them around. But this is one nice and easy way to get a lot of level ups pretty early in the game. So if you have a look on the left hand side, my XP bar is still going up. I'm basically still leveling up from having built all of these statues. And it's still going. Anyway, with that said, we're now going to go ahead and talk about the infinite caps glitch. To use the infinite caps glitch, what you want to do is make sure that in your perks tree, you have both points in local leader. Once you have that, what we will do is go into our workshop and we're going to look at the MISC tab. And notice that this tab currently has no caps. So if I had any caps, so I'm going to take a quick look. I don't appear to have any at the moment. The caps appear in your MISC tab in a workshop, and this will become important in a moment. From here, what you want to do is go into your settlement build mode, and from here, go into the stores, trader, and then go ahead and just basically build a trading stand. So we're going to go ahead and build one. Once built, just exit the trade stand selection, but don't exit your settlement build mode. From here, what you want to do is highlight the trading stand and again press the store button followed by the scrap button. So we've gone through this instruction a few times now. Hopefully this makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and basically perform the same button combo you would use to duplicate a resource. Essentially, we're going to go ahead and duplicate this trading stand. So let's go ahead and do that. So press the store button followed by the scrap button. And if you do it right, you will see this screen where the scrap option is visible above the store option. So go ahead and scrap it and then store it. Now, what we've done is we've scrapped the trading stand, but we've stored it at the same time. So if you just simply go ahead and press up on your D-pad, you will be able to build the trading stand again for no resources. So let's go through what we've just done. To build a trading stand, you will need at least 5 wood, you will need at least 300 bottle cap, and you will need 3 steel. But because we used that glitch, we were able to build this one for free because we stored it. but at the same time we scrapped it. So for scrapping it, you actually get these items back. You get 2 wood back, you get 150 bottle cap back, and you get steel back. So why is that important? Well, let's go ahead and do this 2 more times. So this is the second time. And again, now I can just build it again without using any resources. Again, let's go ahead and use the scrap method on this. Now, notice that I can build it again. But if I exit my settlement mode and go into my workshop and go at the MISC tab, notice I've got 450 bottle caps. In other words, I got 150 caps each time I scrapped the trading stand. Even though, or although, I didn't actually scrap it at all, I basically stored it at the same time. So you can basically build trading stands to get an infinite amount of caps by simply storing it and scrapping it at the same time. Now, if you use other trading stands that are higher in value, so for example, this trading stand has a bottle cap of 300, this has 600, this has 1500, and so on. When you scrap the higher value stands, you actually get more bottle caps back. So if you use this glitch, this is basically a really nice and easy way to get an infinite amount of caps basically rather easily. So now if I go back and if I check my MISC tab, I should now have basically 600 caps. In other words, 150 more caps than the 450 we just had. And with that said, now let's take a look at the next glitch or exploit, the weapon modification glitch. The weapon modification glitch is where you are able to attach the modification of one weapon onto a totally different weapon, giving you the ability to create some very powerful and some very unique weapons. And the possibilities are basically endless when you do such a thing. So to do this, what you need to do is actually have 2 weapons. So in my case, I have a fat man and I have a minigun. And what I'm going to do is basically attach the fat man to the minigun, effectively creating a minigun that fires nukes. So how do we do this? Well, first of all, you have to have a modification for your first weapon. So if I go into the fat man, I have this MIRV launcher. So if I select it, I don't have the option to spend any resources, and that is because I have already unlocked this modification. So you need to have a modification for a weapon. Now with that modification, what I'm going to do is go ahead and select the standard launcher. So what this means is this modification is available for the fat man, but it is currently not attached. Now I'm going to go into the minigun, and for the minigun, it really doesn't matter what you have. With this, the second step of this glitch is to make sure that the fat man appears above the weapon that you want to attach the modification to. So what I want to do is attach this MIRV launcher to the minigun. And to do that, the weapon with the modification has to appear on top of the weapon that I'm going to attach it to. Now, in my case, my fat man happens to appear above my minigun. But what I'm going to do is just rename these weapons, because in your case, that might not be the case. You may have 2 weapons that don't alphabetically align like this. So to do this, simply go ahead and rename the fat man to something like 1. And go ahead and rename your minigun to something like 2. And if you do this, you will always end up with weapons that appear in order. Now what we're going to do is exit, and I'm going to do a quick save. And the reason we're going to do a quick save is the method we're going to use now may end up accidentally scrapping your weapon. So what you want to do is highlight the weapon with the modification you want on the other weapon. So what we want to do is press the scrap and modify button at exactly the same time. So this isn't the same as using the resource duplication glitch where you press the scrap button followed by the store button. This is where you press the scrap and modify button at exactly the same time. Now, if you do it right, this is what you will see. You will see the scrap menu option alongside the weapon modification underneath the scrap option. So from here, what you want to do is select the scrap option. And then what you want to do, and this is important, you want to press the right arrow on your D-pad. And if you do it right, you will see this. You will see the MIRV launcher now appearing as an option on the minigun. So go ahead and attach the MIRV launcher. and then simply exit this whole screen. Now, if we do it right, what we will do is go ahead and simply equip the weapon. And if I have a look at the weapon, you will see that this minigun now looks very different to what it would usually look like. Now, what we're going to do is just go ahead and fire just a couple of rounds, not too many. And notice that this has now launched mini nukes as opposed to launching the usual ammo. Now, the beauty of doing this is there's a couple of things. First of all, when I actually fire off the nukes, it doesn't use the mini nukes as ammo. It actually uses the native ammo of the minigun instead. So I don't lose any mini nukes. But the more important thing is you can use this glitch to basically combine the modification of one weapon onto another weapon, creating weapons such as this. Now, what this will do is basically what I would call a god tier weapon. I can now fire an endless amount of nukes, and I won't fire too many because this will potentially crash my game. But this is something I can do. I can now basically destroy anything I want in the game with relative ease. And with that said, now let's take a look at the next glitch or exploit, the wall climbing glitch. In this glitch, I will show you how you can basically climb vertical walls straight up without having any access to stairs. So my goal here is to get to that platform over there, and we can use this glitch to do this. Typically, this glitch will work if we can find any sort of armor or any bins, anything that sort of provides a somewhat hard surface. What you want to do is put your back against the wall, and when you do this, you just want to sort of press back on the left analog stick, or rather just go back using whatever control mechanics you're using. Now, when you do this, what you want to do is grab an object. So let's go ahead and grab this jumpsuit. And this isn't grab as in taking the item, this is grabbing as in grabbing it. Go ahead and turn your back to the wall. And as you do that, just press and hold the back button. And if you do it right, this will happen. You will slowly start to levitate up a bit. You are now basically climbing the wall. Now, you do need to be careful. This can be a bit tricky and fiddly to do. Some things seem to work better than others. But if you continue to do this, you will end up climbing the wall. Now, this is actually a very useful glitch because with this, what you can do is climb walls totally bypassing stairs. So we've just done that with the jumpsuit. Now what I'm going to do is do with the bin, and you will see that this one is significantly quicker, and so on. So this is another glitch that appears to work really well and will allow you to climb walls. Now, the benefit of this is there are a number of spots in the game where you may have to sort of climb stairs, and there are a number of enemies sort of serving as obstacles for you to get to the very top. You can just simply use this glitch to climb vertical walls. And with that said, now let's take a look at the next glitch or exploit. Unlimited fusion cores and unlimited power armor frames. In this glitch, I will show you how you can get your hands on an unlimited number of fusion cores as well as an unlimited number of power armor frames. Now, to do this glitch, the first thing you will need to do is to have some ranks in Pickpocket. You don't have to have it, but having as many ranks as you can in this perk will definitely help. With that, what you want to do next is locate a paladin commander. It doesn't have to be a paladin commander, it could be any NPC wearing any power armor. What you want to do is do a quick save, go into their inventory, whilst making sure you're hidden, and go ahead and simply take the fusion core. Now, before I do that, on the bottom you will see I have a 90% chance to steal. That means I have a 10% chance of getting caught. So let's go ahead and try and steal this fusion core. And in this instance, I was able to take the fusion core. What will happen now is the paladin will simply re-enter the power armor and just put in another fusion core. So what you can do is wait for them to enter again, go ahead, access their inventory again, and then go ahead and take the fusion core again. And you can basically repeat on this cycle as many times as you want, trying to get as many of the fusion cores as you want. Now, if you want to instead get power armor frames, what you can do is whilst the paladin is out or any NPC, just go ahead and take them out. So here I've basically taken out the paladin, and as a result, this has now left this power armor frame basically ready to be taken. So now what I will do is simply go ahead, approach the power armor, put in the fusion core that the paladin had on him, and simply go ahead and take the power armor frame. And with that, I've just had my opportunity to take 2 fusion cores as well as taking this power armor frame. And you can basically use this exploit to get your hands on as many fusion cores as you want, as well as many power armor frames as you want. And with that said, now let's take a look at the next glitch or exploit. Duplicating power armor pieces. This is an interesting glitch. What this will do, or rather what this glitch will do, is allow you to duplicate power armor pieces. So here I have a power armor frame with no power armor pieces that I can equip on it. And here I happen to have one that already has a number of power armor pieces on it. But again, there is nothing in my inventory. And just to check, if I select Kate and select trade, she also doesn't have anything on her also. What we will do is use this exploit to have Kate's trade window and the crafting window of this power armor station overlapping each other, which will then allow us to basically duplicate every single armor you see here from this frame onto this one. So let's go ahead and do that. Now the way to do that is this. Go ahead and select Kate and select the trade option. And before her trade menu appears, go ahead and select the craft option on this power armor station. Now, you may not be quick enough to do it first time, but if you give it a couple of tries, you should be able to do it. So let's go ahead and do that. So there, I'm going to select trade. And now again, I'm going to select trade again, and then I'm going to select craft. And if you do it right, you will see this. You will see your companion's trade menu and the power armor station craft menu both overlapping each other. When you get to this point, what you want to do here is press the exit button just once. And what this will do is exit the station menu. Now, if you just move your cursor about, you will see that you have full control over your companion's trade menu, but not the power armor station menu. From here, what you want to do is if you go to your period, you will now see that you suddenly have access to all of the power armor pieces. And what's basically happened is the game believes that the power armor pieces on the power armor station is actually in your inventory. But in reality, it isn't. It is actually in the power armor station. So from here, simply give your companions all the power armor. And when you've done that, go back to your companion side of the trade menu and take all the power armor. After you've done that, simply exit the whole thing. Now that you've exited, if you look at your inventory, you will notice that you actually have every single piece of the power armor. You have essentially duplicated all of the pieces. So now if I access this screen, so previously I didn't have any of these power armor in my inventory, I can now simply give them to this power armor frame. And with that, you have now basically duplicated your power armor. And with that said, now let's take a look at the next glitch or exploit. Legendary farming exploit. This exploit will allow you to try and generate any specific weapon you want with any legendary effect on it. And the way it works is actually very simple. What you want to do is find yourself a location that is known for spawning legendary enemies. And in particular, what you want to do is find a location where you have to go inside to see those legendary enemies. So in my instance, I happen to be in the National Guard training yard. It is directly north of the country crossing and directly southwest of Finch Farm. So once you make it here, what you want to do is enter this building. Now, some quick side note. To actually spawn legendary enemies, I believe you have to be at least level 8. And the higher your level is, the better the weapons and the better the effects you will potentially generate. Anyway, with that said, let's go in front of the door. And before going in, what we want to do is create a hard save. And we will refer to this save as the hard save. Now go ahead into the building. Once inside, if we go back and take a look at our load files, you will now notice that another save file has been automatically generated. And when files such as this are automatically generated, these are known as, let's just call them the autosave file. So this was our hard save, the save that we created, and this is the autosave. This will become important in a moment, but it's important to distinguish between the two, the hard save and the autosave. With this, what we will do now is just go ahead into this building and let's have a look around to see if we have spawned any enemies or legendary. So that isn't one. That isn't one. That isn't one. None. And none. So in this instance, we did not spawn any legendary enemies. So when that happens, what you want to do is go ahead and delete the autosave and load your hard save. With the hard save now loaded, go back into the building, and again this will generate another autosave. So just to confirm, if we have a look, there is our autosave. Now let's look again and see if there are any legendary enemies this time. So there you go, there's one right there. So let's go ahead and take out this enemy. And now that I've taken out the legendary enemy, let's have a look. So this legendary enemy happens to be carrying a combat armor chest piece, which has this effect on it, the chameleon effect. What you want to do is notice here that the autosave that I generated in this instance had an enemy and it had a combat armor chest piece with the effect chameleon on it. If we now go ahead and load the autosave file, so not the hard save, but the autosave, what should happen is the same enemy will be a legendary again, and it will have the same type of armor again, but the legendary effect on it will be different. So let's go ahead and confirm that. So there you go, there is the legendary enemy. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly take this out. Okay, so I've taken out the legendary enemy, and if I now have a look, notice that it is the same type of armor, but it has a different legendary effect. And this is basically the process of trying to generate a legendary item by force. So let's just recap the steps one more time. Create a hard save just before entering a location that you know is likely to spawn legendary enemies. So this training yard happens to be one location. When you enter that location, the game will generate an autosave. Go and look around to see if there are any legendary enemies. If so, then check to see if it has the item that you want. If it has the item you want, then just reload the autosave until you get the item with the legendary effect. If you don't have the item that you want, then simply reload the hard save and repeat the process until you get a legendary enemy that has the item you want. And this is effectively the legendary farming method in Fallout 4. And with that said, now let's take a look at the next glitch or exploit. Cloning legendary effects. You can use this exploit to clone the legendary effect of one weapon onto another weapon. So let's take a look. Here I have the Ashmaker, which is a unique minigun that has the ability to set targets on fire for 15 points of additional fire damage. And here I have another minigun that doesn't have the legendary effect. What I'm going to do is copy the legendary effect of this weapon onto that weapon. And the benefit of doing that is you end up with multiple copies of the same legendary effect across multiple weapons, and you can then either give them to companions, settlers, or even sell them for some profit. Now, before we do that, let's actually mention one other thing. This effect really works when we try to, or rather this glitch works when we try to copy the effect from one weapon to the other as long as the weapons are actually the same. If you try to do this across two different weapon types, for example, from a minigun to say something like a pipe pistol, then chances are that this might crash your game. You can still try it, there's nothing stopping you from trying it, but do be warned that doing that has known to crash the game. So with that said, let's go ahead and look at the weapons a little bit more specifically. So the high-powered shredder minigun, or the non-legendary weapon, basically has this modification on it, a shredder. And what we want to do is be able to remove that modification. Similarly, the Ashmaker, which is the legendary weapon, has also a shredder. And again, this is important because we're going to go ahead and remove this modification. So with that, let's go ahead and exit. Now, to actually perform this glitch, we will reuse another exploit shown in this video, which is to overlay your companion's trade screen with the crafting screen of something else. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and select the trade option with Kate first. And the first thing we need to do is actually give Kate the non-legendary weapon. Once you've done that, go ahead and select the trade menu with Kate, and before it opens, go ahead and select the craft menu. And if you do it right, you will see this screen. You are basically now seeing both menus overlaid on top of each other. With this done, what you now want to do is look at the trade menu, and what you want to do is take the non-legendary weapon from Kate. Once you've done that, what you want to do, and this is actually the tricky bit, you want to get to a point where you are on the shredder modification. So you're basically trying to remove the mod. I'm just happen to use a shredder as the example. You don't have to use the shredder modification specifically. Any weapon modification will do. But what you want to do is get to a point where you have the shredder selected with the no muzzle on the weapon modification screen. But then on the trade screen, you want to get to a point where you have the legendary weapon selected. So let me go through that one more time. You want to get to this state where the legendary weapon is selected on the trade screen and the no muzzle or removing a modification is selected on the crafting screen. Once you're in this state, just go ahead and apply the change. And with that, you will notice that the legendary weapon has now moved over to Kate's screen and the non-legendary weapon has remained on your screen. Now, if you now exit, you will now notice that the weapon on the crafting screen has changed its name from high power to incendiary. This is basically evidence that you have now converted the non-legendary weapon into a legendary weapon. Now just go ahead and exit all the screens as normal. And once we've done that, what we will do is go ahead and access your companion's trade screen and take the legendary weapon from them. And now if you go into your Pip-Boy, you will notice that you now have both the legendary weapons. You've got the original one as well as the one that you've copied over. And with that said, now let's take a look at the next glitch or exploit. Kneecapper, a potentially broken legendary effect. Now, this effect is actually very simple. The Kneecapper has a 20% chance to cripple the target's leg. Now, what many may not know is when you actually fire on an enemy using this legendary effect, what I think people assume is that you actually have to target the leg in order to cripple the enemy. But the reality is you can actually target an enemy anywhere on their body, and this has a chance to cripple the enemy. So if I go ahead and just approach this behemoth and just simply start to take them out, what this could do potentially is end up crippling the enemy. So now you may not have noticed, but this has now actually crippled the behemoth. So he isn't walking at his fast pace anymore, and he will remain like this for a pretty long time, giving you ample time to try and take him out. So this is a rather, I think, semi-broken legendary effect that is worth having on your weapons. Now, the really good thing is this also works against basically any other enemies. So notice that this behemoth is still crippled. He still hasn't recovered from his condition. And you can basically use this technique to cripple enemies. And this works across a number of enemies. Deathclaws, for example, anything. It doesn't matter how big or small they are. The only caveat is when you use this against humans, they may use a steam pack and recover. Now, the behemoth did recover there, as you saw, but it took him a whole long time to do that. Now, here's the other part of the glitch, or rather the exploit. Actually, this isn't an exploit, it's just by design. I have re-crippled the enemy, but this time they have actually been knocked down. So previously they were walking very slowly, but this time they are now stuck in this animation, and look how sort of easy this is. I can literally go up straight to them and they do nothing. So this is another type of what I think is a broken effect, where you can basically, if you can get them into this state, you can just go to town on them and they won't be able to do anything. So again, just take stock of what I'm doing. I'm using a pipe pistol to take down a behemoth, which is typically considered one of the most stronger enemies in the Commonwealth. And with that said, now let's take a look at the next glitch or exploit. Getting your hands on the Cryolator early in Vault 111. When you're in Vault 111, you will inevitably see yourself seeing this weapon, the Cryolator, but it will be locked behind a master lock. You can actually easily get this weapon by simply bringing dog meat to this location. What you want to do is Return to the vault after getting Dogmeat and ask Dogmeat to go and stand right next to it.
Over here.
And allow Dogmeat to sort of go and do that. Once Dogmeat does that, without actually taking focus of Dogmeat, go ahead and talk to Dogmeat.
How you doing, buddy?
Select the fetch option and then select the items option. And when you do that, make sure that you walk away from Dogmeat. Now if you do that, Dogmeat should magically pull the weapon just like that out of the locked case and bring it to you. Now, sometimes Dogmeat does drop the weapon on the floor, but if it isn't on the floor, go ahead and speak to Dogmeat, select the trade option, and he will have it on his inventory. Go ahead and take it, and with that, you will basically get access to the Cryolator without having a single perk in lockpick or without even having any bobby pins. So this is an easy way to get your hands on the Cryolator basically as soon as you get Dogmeat. In other words, super early in the game. In this video, I went through a number of glitches and exploits that still work in Fallout 4 after the Fallout 4 Next Gen update for both consoles and PC. Since you made it this far, why not click on the video you see on the screen now, and I will show you what I think are the worst to best companion perks in Fallout 4. Click on the video you see on the screen now to find out more.